Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So in this video I've got a lot to go over. There's a new lockbox which is just released. We had some patch notes with some new changes with today's update. I will be updating my companion tests to have then these stats. And aside from the new lockbox, there is actually a new mount which was released a few weeks ago with the magnificent Resurgent lockbox, which has Swift Stride, which should be 20% faster movement speed on your mount. So let's go through everything in this video. Starting off, there is an Alienware giveaway for PC. You can sign in and grab a key here, and it's simply just for a cape. But now let's have a look at the new lockbox. You can obtain it like normal, killing enemies in zones, and it has a chance to drop, or you go to the Wondrous Bazaar and you purchase it here. So I'm going to open 150 of these, and hopefully we get both the new mount, which looks pretty powerful to reduce the target's defense and crit avoidance. It has 4 insignia slots with all of these bonuses. And there's a new companion. This guy who is actually riding a griffin. A unique twist in terms of companions. And otherwise, he can deal a bunch of single target damage and even heal you. He also has a companion enhancement which looks like the best of its kind. 18% stats here, but says it should only trigger on at-wills. So let's get these quickly opened. Be aware this is a preview server and I don't believe the preview server actually got this update. Therefore, it doesn't have the correct text. So you can excuse the devs for that. We already got the companion. We simply just get to 250 and get the choice pack. We did not drop the mount by itself, so we can use the choice pack in order to obtain it. That's just here. You select either one and they bind on equip, which means you should be able to sell them. Both are also account wide, so you should be able to claim them on all your characters. So we'll bind the Cauldron. It gives us that new mount power, the polymorph potion, and then the new companion. We'll bind that as well. It giving us the keen senses, which when we summon it, we can see would give 7.5%. Well, let's get it upgraded to Celestial, and now that's 9% to both critical strike and critical severity. We just got to look at the uptime on it. Having the companion summoned, you can see it. It's riding a griffin. We can have a look at the new mount. It's similar to like the Hag's Cauldron we've seen in the past. We'll go mount up. This is the animation. And there you are sitting in this cauldron. Let's have a look at the mount power and double check, does that actually work? We can attack our dummy here. I will just dismiss the companion, it's rather big. We just need to get our base damage here. We then look at the damage formula, and that's very similar to what we're actually seeing in game. And then we go ahead and cast the mount power and see, does it have any effect on the damage we output? We can already see we're dealing like 16,900. That's it right there. And the mount power claims to reduce defense or crit avoidance by 7.5%. This should directly affect our damage, putting this to 42.5 and putting the enemy into negative crit avoidance. So it looks like something's not quite working. We're only getting 16,920. What I'm going to do is use the buffer artifact to simulate artifact calls. This will then give us an extra minus 10% to defense and crit avoidance, and it'll help us to show this better. I need to relook at my stats, and when we use the buffer artifact, we can see our maximum damage hits gone up to 59,800. This matches what we see with the formula. Now we need to use it plus the mount. We should see 65,600 hits, but we only see 61,480. Which means something's really not working here. What I believe is happening is it's giving a debuff and not actually reducing the target's defenses. Yes, I believe it's giving a 7.5% debuff on the target rather than actually these reductions to the enemy's stats. If I use the mount without the buffer artifact, so without the 175% debuffs you get through the artifact, we get a hit of 15,600 here. That's an increase from a hit of 14,500, and we can see via the math that is indeed a 7.5% debuff and not actually reducing the enemy's stats as how it claims. So it's currently broken. I need to double check this on the live server or after they actually update the previous server, because it could just be a case of it not being the proper version. Checking the Discord server, it looks like Xbox done some tests and also confirmed that it's a 7.5% debuff and not a defense reduction. But now let's have a look at the new companion. Again, the companion should be account wide. We should be able to find it here. There we go. And my new companion tests will be with them at Celestial, but just be aware, upgrading a companion does not actually result in an improvement in its damage. All it changes is the amount of item level you gain here, and then the boost that you gain through the enhancement you're using. So again, these are going to be my new testing stats, and this mount should be primarily single target, but also have a bit of healing capability. So let's just look at its damage first. That's the leap, and then it causes the target to bleed. That bolt ability he's using is the Emerald Darts. And he does say he has a Lurch ability, jumps back to create distance, healing you and herself. We'll see if she ever does that. She might not unless I'm actually damaged and in need of healing. But we can track her damage output right here, and we're getting DPS 130,000. We need to let this sit for like at least 5 to 10 minutes. I've already done this same test with the Blasphemous Assassin, and we got 164,000 DPS, again with these stats over the course of 14 minutes. Keep in mind again, we're tracking DPS, which is average damage per second. So even if the fight's 14 minutes or 2 hours, it should still be the same value. This document is still the same one with the link in the video description, and I still have the module 30 rankings here. I don't believe they've really changed much within the way of these companions, so this data will still be valid, and eventually I'll have them all retested and added to this, but it will take time. But you can see how the Blasphemous Assassin's DPS ranks versus the others, but I will definitely have to add more to compare. The one drawback of this companion is for group content, it's not going to be that viable. It doesn't have any boosts to your team like you would find with these other party buff companions on the sheet, giving your allies like damage stats, damage buffs, debuffs, or providing combat advantage against the target. And so it would have to deal considerable single target damage to really be worth it to give up one of those. After 25 minutes, we can see the DPS is settling to around 138,000. We'll wait till it spikes back up. Yes, around 138,000. So it's very likely on the same level as you have like Wigging, Suna, Mage Slayer, Flame Sprite, these that are at like 41,000 DPS. These new tests with these improved stats, it will have considerably higher numbers, but the ratio between the difference between those different companions should still be similar. I will over time get all of these retested with these new stats, and we'll have them added to this list. So for now, this companion is going to be settling at 138,000 and snapshotting it here 914. They always have a little bit of fluctuation depending on when you actually stop the log, when they've done their abilities. Like if I stop the log just after the companion's done its high max hit, then it will show a little bit higher DPS than if I stopped it just before that. And yeah, the companion has a pretty high max hit as we got 1.25 million there. But that's it for the companion. The last thing we got to check is the companion enhancement. I'll switch back to my different character just so I don't change the stats there. And let's have a look at the uptime on it. This Keen Senses. It says it should only trigger on at-wills, but I've had reports it can trigger on encounter powers. And we can see, yeah, it just did. We used our not so fast and we got it. It claims it only has an uptime of 10 seconds. But if we attack here, we've obtained it. And I believe it still has 15 seconds. We'll see if it refreshes. Maybe it actually can't. But it's expired and we instantly got it back at 15 seconds. So I don't believe it can refresh, but it has a pretty generous uptime, at least if you're a class who uses at-wills. And that's a ton of stats, a whopping 18%. We just need to make sure that actually works. So let's have a look. Crit strike, crit severity, they should go down by 9% when we lose the buff. We should see, yeah, 49. Yeah, we're gaining those. 9% of each. That's pretty insane. Just be aware, it could get nerfed at any time. And again, it could get fixed that it does not trigger on encounter powers. But let's quickly jump to the patch notes. All they really changed here was an increase to the rate at which you gain the Assassins of Thay quests. So you'll only have to kill 25% less enemies. They added the bank and the guild bank to the new zone, and they added some more textures to the buildings. I'm not sure if the devs intended to add more textures, and it's just something they've added based on player feedback. And honestly, I think it looks way better. Thank you for doing that. It just felt a bit surreal and not quite right when it was, yes, completely smooth. This just looks an awful lot better. You can agree or disagree in the comments. In the new trial, they have gone and changed it so you have more time in normal and advanced difficulties with the arcane cracking mechanic. The Zulkir execution mechanic will now happen at a higher HP threshold, so just be careful of that one. And they significantly lowered the health and damage in normal mode, so completing it in the random trial queue should be significantly easier. Many of you may have had a bad experience there before this update. Oh, that was just for the Zulkirs. But yes, this confirms here it's also been done in the normal mode for Valkyriel. Enemies will respawn faster in these certain zones, particularly useful when trying to do the Assassin's Quest and you just need to kill a ton of enemies. The Cobra mount was displaying as the Boar Worm, that's been fixed. And they've increased the health and damage of Tene, the zone boss. This is important because you may not be able to say solo that boss. I did incorrectly state that one person would use the cube and then everybody would be able to damage it. I just meant everybody could obtain the loot from it. So it might be better now to actually have a full party who does use the cube so they can contribute to dealing damage. You probably don't need to as a tank or a healer because you're not really doing any damage, but the damage dealers kind of need to. Otherwise, you will just take significantly longer to kill that boss, and you might not be able to complete it within the 3 minutes that you actually have the buff from this. They fixed the battle pass, so your random skirmish should give points, and they adjusted some of these item powers. Last thing I want to look at is that new mount, which should give us the extra speed boost, the new movement power, 160% instead of 140%. Equipping that, we can go here to Gallop, and we can indeed see we could select Swift Stride, which is 160% versus Gallop, which is 140%. And so you should be able to move that bit faster. I definitely feel like I do, 20% faster. I believe, however, it was bugged that when you claim that mount on alternative characters, which we will do here, the mount does not appear to be showing up as account wide at all for me. So I can't really test, yes, if you get the speed boost on your alts or not. But that was reportedly a bug people were having. Maybe there's a bug now that it's not even account wide. It is supposed to be account wide as it is titled as such. But that's ultimately everything for this update. Again, the Lockbox mount, just wait for a fix. When it does get fixed, it will be very impactful. It should be about a 9.6% damage gain. This in a trial when you already have like 150% debuffs and you have armor break, which is reduction to defense, and also vulnerability, which is a 9% reduction to crit avoidance. We'll have to take into account that if you use the red dragon, you're also reducing the enemy's critical avoidance by another 15%. But even with that included, you can see the best mounts is 7.89%, and this is coming out at a 9.6%. So it is going to be the top mount to use once it gets fixed. Potentially next week if the devs are watching this. So thanks all for watching, and we'll see you guys around.